Hi, everyone. In our welcoming session, we are with Esranur. At first, I would like to give a little bit of information about her, and then we are going to talk about sustainable development goals and how to understand today and what is the future. And she's going to give a little more details about her investment perspective. Welcome.
Hi, how are you?
We are fine. We are super excited to have you here and have this organization and for everything, actually. As we always talk, we are coming together for a better world, for a change, we say, and it's so meaningful for you to make this opening session with us. And yeah, it's like that.
Yeah,
How about you? How are you?
Well, I'm great. I'm also very happy to do this first session and share my knowledge on frontier or sustainable technologies, because that's actually our future. So it's also very important for me. Maybe I can give you a short introduction about who I am, or maybe you want to do that yourself.
If you want, I can just give a little introduction and then you can move on. Yeah. So you were Dutch-born, Turkish citizen, and also for our now listeners, she's a startup ecosystem. She exists in the startup ecosystem as an investor. She has lots of awards, including most successful investor in 2015 in Istanbul, and also most successful businesswoman of the year in 2012 in Amsterdam, Holland. And also she's published author. If you would you like to give us some information about your last book?
Yeah, sure. Well, like I said, over the course of the last 10 years, so almost a decade, I worked with, I started my own startup and then I exited. That was in Holland. And after that, I mentored numerous of frontier sustainable technology startups and also corporates. Currently, I work at a corporate venture capital firm. And all of this knowledge that I gained over the last 10 years, I translated in a book. And that book is about disruptive innovation in a corporate environment. And well, from directors or CEOs at big corporate firms to startups who just start off and think like, okay, how can I innovate? How can I change the world through innovation? I definitely advise you to read it. It's now only in Turkish, but after this summer, I think in August, we're publishing the English version, and that's kind of exciting.
Yes, of course. So yes, when the translation, the English version of the book has published, we will be announcing you from our Discord channel. At the same time, also, we can leave the ordering link of the book at the Discord channel too. Yeah. And yeah, so
I will arrange a special discount code for you guys.
Whoa, that's so nice. Thank you so much. That would be great.
Yeah, that will be great.
Yeah.
So like my book is all about like problem solving, like I said. So we have a lot of problems in our world at this moment, and young people are inheriting a lot of big problems that corporates and boomers have developed. Yeah, that's my focus in my work, but also in my book. So it's all about problem solving.
Yes. When you say that, I would like to ask a question. The world is full of opportunities, but as you said, in the terminology of entrepreneurs, it's called problems. So what do you think about the current time's biggest problem is?
Well, well, you know, we can argue about the problems for a long time, but the most inevitable problem, and the problem that we all heard about, is climate change. At this moment, the world is currently facing a problem on an immense scale. And only like a breakthrough, or in fact, many breakthroughs, can actually solve this problem, the problem of climate change.
Yeah. Yes, you're so right. As the track's topic. So the thing is, where do you think we can make the most changes to make the most impact?
Well, you know, to understand where you can make the real problem, or where you can solve the real problem, and make the most impact, is to understand the core of the problem. So why is this problem so big, and where does it come from? And in my opinion, it's like, in a typical year, we produce 51 billion tons of greenhouse gases. I know that sounds a lot, and that's where
Yes.
the problem comes from, greenhouse gases. This amount is such a big problem. And as we keep doing this, the consequences for human life on Earth will be catastrophic. And we can see it in our life today. The weather today in Istanbul, I don't know where all you guys are, but the weather in Istanbul today is unlike Istanbul.
Yeah.
So the real challenge is that we need to develop technology that will get us from 51 billion tons of greenhouse gases to zero, while we still meet the planet's basic needs. And that is the real challenge.
Yeah, you're right. But so as you said, we know, for example, the farming industry is responsible for the 30%, as you mentioned. But do you have some other do you know some other industries you think that are one of the actors?
Yeah, I do. And maybe I prepared some visuals for you guys, so we can visualize where the problem is and where we can find solutions. And later on, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks for the entrepreneurs on what kind of verticals they can work on. So this is actually a little bit of cheating, but it's cool. I mean, like, I got a lot of experience, and I'm happy to share it. So I'm going to share my screen, and to do that, I need to first, let's see. Okay, share screen. Here it goes. I should share this window with you guys. Done. I hope you guys see the same window as I'm seeing now. It calls transformation in sectors. Or not?
Yes, yeah, we can see.
Perfect. So we have 6 main industries, and in order to accomplish this transformational change, we need to transform these 6 main industries. So the traditional farming industry, as we know it needs to be smart farming. Later on all these topics, I'm going to give you guys more detailed examples, but to keep it short, I'm going to just highlight some of these industries. So energy, in the energy sector, we need to be more efficient. We need to find more renewable sources on how we produce energy. On mobility side, we need to develop more mobility alternatives with a lower carbon footprint. And then we have to think about electric cars and e-scooters. On food, I mean protein, so meat, chicken, eggs, milk. We need to go from animal-based to plant-based, or find alternatives, such as lab-grown meats. On the waste side, and this is a huge problem, and we're not really aware of how big this problem is, because we think that if we don't throw away our can of Coke or a bottle of water, not in nature, we think we solve it, but it's actually bigger. So we need to find better ways to recycle our current waste and manage our waste much better. And then the most important one is water. we need to manage our sources better, and the distribution of the water, the water that we drink, our drink water, the distribution of it must be better. For example, in Istanbul, 50% of the tap water that we get in our houses, 50% is lost on their way to our taps. So can you imagine? So one glass of water, in order to get one glass of water, the system is so broken that you will lose one glass of water. That's a problem because there's scarcity. So these are the 6 main industries, and I will come back to you guys. Here I am. These are the 6 main industries that we can work on, and that's where we need the innovation.
Yeah, it was so inspiring actually to see your knowledge in that summarized way, and it was so since it's a visual, it was so understandable. Mm-hmm. But I have another question, which is about the timeline. How do you think these industries will shape or better said, develop in terms of timeline? Do you have a foreseen?
Well, in terms of timeline, what I understand is that not every industry is going to be equal. For example, the food industry has already like a head start. So they're much developed. It's more normal at this moment to have almond milk instead of regular milk, or have soy or other plant-based milks. Also, even though in some countries we're lacking or we're behind, but a plant-based burger or a burger that looks like meat but is actually from plants such as beans, it's becoming more and more normal. So I will see development in this industry in the coming, I think, 5 years. It will be transformed. And in the coming 20 years, when we're talking about like a hamburger from an actual cow, that will become rare. And it may sound weird, but it's going to be normal, because if you look at all the alternatives that we have with milk now, if you go to Starbucks, it's very normal that there are many people who are lactose intolerant who prefer other milk. Then it will happen. This is where it will go. In terms of farming is, because it's also like in the food industry, and it's like you said, 30% is responsible for the greenhouse emission of greenhouse gases. We'll see a really rapid transformation there. I think in 10 years, the whole industry will be digitalized and optimized. And this will accelerate in the coming 3 years. The electric vehicle vertical, it will transform in major modern cities. And I mean with modern cities, I mean cities such as Los Angeles, cities in the EU, the majority of the EU, because they come up with policies that by 2025, they will not allow traditional motor combustion engine motors into these cities or in many countries. So we're going to see electric cars. I will think that when most of you guys who are watching now, when you're like my age or the age of your parents, the world will be very different. And when I was your age, my world was also really different. We didn't have GPS. So it's very normal that transformation will go very fast.
Yeah, you're so right. But at the same time, the leading sounds good, but at the same time, the problems that you mentioned seemed really, really important and serious warning signs, because you mentioned innovation, the requirements of innovation, and you mentioned also, when we say innovation, we say also entrepreneurs. But who else do you think are the key players? I mean, who will lead this transformation, and how do you think they can make the most impact?
Yeah, I understand. Well, the world just needs to you know, like this is a very important part for entrepreneurs. So the world needs tomorrow's entrepreneurs, so you guys who are watching, to work and develop on these innovations that I just mentioned. This will really make the difference between a world where everybody can live a healthy and productive life and one where we constantly deal with the human and financial crisis at an historic scale. So when we think about COVID, how large the scale is of the problem that we're trying to solve, water scarcity, more viruses and illness, healthcare problems, drought, scarcity in food resources,
Yeah.
clean air. So these are really like the problems that we will face at the same scale as COVID. And what I just said, I mean, like, it may sound like a warning sign, like just like how you said, but to be honest, this is a warning sign, but we can alter this course and by taking responsibility. And I understand that many people say like entrepreneurs need to transform this industry, but there are many stakeholders here who are all very responsible. And to be really honest, the first group of people who are responsible are all of us. Every single one of us is equally responsible for the future of the planet. So we all need to advocate with a very loud voice and hold each other accountable for rapid progress. Because that's how you transform something. Because corporates will always look at what their customers want. If I do not buy something that is not good for the planet, then they can't develop it. They can't offer it. If I won't vote for an elected mayor, president, doesn't matter who, if I don't vote for someone who doesn't think about the planet, then he cannot win. And I will vote, if I do vote for someone who will think about the planet, then he will win, and we will transform that. We saw it happened in America, and we will see it in many other countries as well. So we're very responsible for our own future. And just what I said, governments are responsible.
Yeah.
Because they need to enact new policies to drive the market for clean, for example, energy or production plants. And the most important ones, and then I go back to entrepreneurs, the most important ones are entrepreneurs, but also investors such as me. We need to build new businesses and change existing businesses to get solutions deployed and finance them as well. So that's a note for investors.
The previous thing that you said about the governments and the investors, especially from my side, your government statement was a really strong one, because we choose our actually not the whole our lives, but we have a chance in here, and that collective reaction turns into a huge voice, maybe, let's say. So yes, that was so powerful. So, and at the beginning of your speech, you mentioned about some tips, maybe.
Yeah.
Would you like to mention about that? Or maybe just before you mentioned before, you can give us some visuals.
Yeah. So like I promised, I will give some tips and tricks, which is very important because as a person, I dedicated like a decade on sustainable technology or technology on itself. So to put all the pressure at entrepreneurs, tomorrow's entrepreneurs who do not have experience in the industry yet, I think that we as people who have experience, who have knowledge in these fields, we are responsible in sharing that knowledge. And, I would just want to give some examples on what entrepreneurs can do and, inspire you guys. So we're going to go back to a visual again. Let me get back to the visual. yeah, a window.
Right
Here.
now, while I'm listening to you, I am reading the comments, and there are some good discussions that we are going to talk about a little bit later.
Okay, well, I couldn't manage to get the visual, but if I have one more second, I will. Now I have it. Oh, this is too. Let's see.
So while you're checking, I
have it.
Yeah, you do.
Now I need to share the screen, and voila, done. You guys see it now?
In a second.
I hope, yeah.
Yes.
So I prepared this one yesterday for you guys, and it's like a landscape of sustainable technology. So, like I said, there are 6 verticals that we need to transform. We're talking about farming, water, energy, mobility, waste and recycling, protein alternatives. These are companies that we either have in Europe or in the US, in Turkey. Some are from the Middle East. And most of them, some of them are, like Tesla is very like on a large scale, but some of them are only working locally, and some of them are, there's just one company and the market is very big. So that can be inspiration for you guys to start your own in your own local ecosystem. I will start with farming, and then I will go like this because the protein ones, because it's better connected. So smart farming, when we think about smart farming, I don't know how well you guys know smart farming, but the most important part here is that traditional farming is not sustainable as we know. So we need to use our soil much better. We cannot just, in a normal way, when we farm, we take the whole land and we fertilize the whole land, or we spray certain chemicals on all the land, and we use water on all of the land. And some spots in the land where we grow crops need fertilization, or they don't, or they need chemicals because it could be that there are like bugs or something, but sometimes it isn't. So most of the technology or the fertilizers or the chemicals that we use is just preventive, because we cannot measure what is going on a crop field that is so big that you guys have, if you would see it, you will get lost. So companies like iFarm, what they do is they develop technology that you can use on cropland, and they measure it with drones, so a human being doesn't have to go out. They measure it with drones with special cameras and see if where the farming land needs what, so you don't overuse chemicals or overuse water, because our water is scarce anyway. That's when we look at traditional farming. Then the second one is greenhouses. Greenhouses are really big in Holland. We grow up with them. So we can grow tomatoes or grow flowers without even using soil. And that's crazy, I know, but that's how it works. And it's actually like a crop growing factory, and it's super optimized. And companies like AgroSense, they do that. And then we have For Farming, for example, and that's a farming a solution that you can have also in your own house, but also in your greenhouses. So technology that you can develop for greenhouses, they're going to be the next thing for the future. The second part of our food, because our food is, the farming industry is 30% responsible for 30% of the whole total of 51 billion tons. We're talking about cows, chickens, fish. We all know that there are major problems in these industries. When we look at how eggs are produced, these chickens they don't live a very nice life. It's a horrible, nightmarish way to live, and they have feelings. So also when we look at fishing, we overfish. I don't know if you guys know, at this moment in the Sea of Marmara, there is like a big spot of sea snot, and it's killing the sea at this very moment while we are having a conversation here. And the majority of the problem is, like I said, with farming, this part. So a lot of chemicals that is used in farming, they just go directly into the sea. It's become a chemical mess. And the second part is overfishing. Small baby fish, they eat plankton. And if plankton doesn't get eaten by these small baby fish, because they were like because they already took them out of the sea for our consumption, then you get situations like sea snot. So we need alternative resources to get eggs, meat, and fish. So companies like Just, they can produce eggs from plant-based sources. It tastes kind of like eggs. It's in a bottle. They're huge. They are $1 billion company now. But I didn't see enough alternatives in Europe or in the Middle East or Turkey. There is one other company like Just in India. They're also huge and they're growing really fast. So if you guys are interested in protein alternatives, in a startup who's going to do protein alternatives, plant-based eggs could be a really good alternative to start a company there, because it isn't super scientific. We can do it at home. If you watch enough YouTube videos, you can see how you do it at home. And then we also have the plant-based burgers that we know. And then we have companies such as Biftek. Biftek is, for example, a company from Ankara in Turkey. And what they do is they create meat in a lab environment. They take the chemical compounds from regular meat, and they can create any sort of meat. And it's a little bit more technical. So for the guys, for you guys who do like a more scientific education, lab-grown meats could be a very interesting field to look into. We all know Beyond Meat, and Shiok Meats is, by the way, a seafood lab-grown meat startup. So these are a couple verticals that you guys can get into. Then we have waste and recycling. So, one of the companies that I invested in is Evreka. They're also from Ankara, Turkey. And what they do is they do waste management. They collect and they process. They have a technological way in collecting and wasting, recycling waste. Then we have Lube Industries, for example. They're in the US, and they found a better way to extract toxins from plastics, so they're better recyclable. Then we have another company, for example, on the waste and recycling, which manages food waste. So when you have food in a market and it's almost like passing its expiring date, Fazla Gıda can work with retailers to give special discounts, collect them better, and make sure that our food that we grew with such valuable resources that it doesn't go to waste. Looking into this vertical could be very valuable. So waste and recycling, it's a huge industry. It's a very important industry. And there are many policies already active in this field. So I would advise to look into this field as well. Then we have mobility.
Oops, I'm so sorry. I just wanted to add that the co-founder of Fazla Gıda will be with us at the 3rd of June. So you will be able to listen to him about that topic in details. But it was a great summarize, and I just wanted to add that Olcay Silahlı will be with us on Wednesday too.
Yeah. Olja they work so hard and they grew globally so fast. I'm
Yes.
very proud of them. They're amazing kids. I would definitely advise to listen to them because he has so much knowledge in that field. So if you want to get inspired, I would definitely listen to Olja as well. Next is mobility. I think like in every major city at this very moment, we have e-scooters. So that's one of the solutions to find other ways, electric ways to move ourselves around in cities. For I when I use I live in Istanbul, as you guys maybe know. I use Palm all the time. This is not advertisement, but they always put scooters in front of the house. Thanks, Palm. But that's a great solution. There are many other brands such as Bird and I don't know. There are so many, Jump from Uber. So there are many other brands, but e-scooters are great. All vehicles, so such as electric vehicles, they're going to be huge. But I understand when entrepreneurs listen to me, who are listening to me now, they're like, I cannot invest like a couple of billion in an electric vehicle company or tens of millions in an e-scooter industry. I think many startups or entrepreneurs tried to enter the e-scooter industry, and I think that many of them failed because it's so capital intensive. E-scooters and such as electric vehicles are capital intensive startups. But there is a trick. So when you have like a huge industry and there is a lot of money spent in an industry, you have other resources that they need. And the guys at Blue Dot, they found an amazing way to leverage or capitalize on that market. So what they do is they're like an Uber for charging stations. So when you have a Tesla out car or an other electric vehicle, you have a charging station in front of your house, but you're not using it all the time. So what they do, what I can do is use Blue Dot, and I can let other people use my electric charging station in front of my house and make money out of that. That's one way. And the second way is they have their own charging stations, and that's more scientific or technical. You need to be an engineer to develop that, but that's another way. So when you look at this ecosystem of scooters and electric vehicles, look into that vertical and see what these electric cars need or these electric scooters need, and try to offer solutions for the entrepreneurs who develop electric, mobility. One part, and then we go into energy, one part of any electric vehicle is the battery. And in the coming 10 to 20 years, the battery is going to be very important. So when you work on battery technology to create, build, or manufacture better batteries, faster charging, or the ones that have more capacity, so more energy in it, then that's also a way of finding new solutions for, sustainable solutions. And one of them is Northvolt. I don't know if you guys heard about them. It's a little bit boring, but what Northvolt does is it's an ex-Apple employee, C-level Apple employee from Sweden, goes back to Sweden, and he's like, I'm going to start a battery factory. And he got like 3 billion funding from the EU and Volkswagen. But this guy is building now a factory for batteries. But not only Northvolt, many Chinese battery manufacturers, they establish battery factories in Eastern Europe, for example. So the whole battery industry is gonna go through the roof. If you work on energy, look into battery technologies if you're really into that field. Another thing is like, for example, UT-Light, that's an Israeli startup. And what they do is they can build solar panels with 3D printers. So when you look at the traditional, energy industry, you can always look into how you can use today's technology in developing to the traditional solution, developing a more innovative solution to traditional industries. That's what I wanted to say. So that's energy. And our last and our most important thing is, and I cannot highlight this enough, water is so important to us. We cannot live without water. We can live very long without food, but we cannot live without water. It's just impossible. We will all be extinguished. And I think that in the coming years, startups who look into water, they will have a huge market. So, for example, there is, again, an Israeli startup, by the way, who their name is like SensoLeak. And what they do is they have sensors, the name says it, and it detects leaks in the infrastructure of the water system of cities or municipalities. And like I said, when you have a glass of water, like 50% is lost before it reaches your tap. Then, finding these sensors and finding these leaks is so crucial, because you will win 50% of your water back, So technologies like that could be very amazing. Maybe you guys know the Ocean Cleanup Project was a Dutch guy who found like a very simple machine to clean out the oceans from plastic. That's also a great one. So you can look into marine biology, that's how you call that, but you can try to find innovation to solve the problem of waste or, waste in our oceans. That's also a very important vertical. And who could be your client? I mean, like, who owns the oceans? Well, I think like companies or not even companies, governments could hire you or buy your technology, especially countries who have their major income is from tourism. So, for example, in the Mediterranean area, tourism is very important, but most of them are, like sea tourism, or like people go to the beaches. So these beaches needs to be clean, or the water needs to be clean. So governments, they need to spend more money on cleaner shores. So they could be your customers. So this is a little bit like the landscape that I think could be very valuable for you guys. I will post it like more detailed posts on my Instagram page, and that's Kaygın Esranur, not Esranur Kaygin. A lot of people add Esranur Kaygin, but that's my private Instagram. I'm trying to maintain a little bit of a private life. But these are like the important verticals that I think that entrepreneurs can work on.
Well, the main points at the last one was really extensive and really important discussion that you've made, especially me being in the entrepreneurship ecosystem, maybe not more than 3 years, but I'm sure about that. But the companies that you mentioned, especially in Turkey, I hardly understood and just figure out what are they doing and how they are doing it, and at the same time why they are doing it in a long time. But your visual was it wasn't complicated, and it explained it. Yes, it made everything easier, and it was like an information in a pill. Like, the people who watches this session is really so lucky to have that kind of an extensive but to the point speech that you gave. And thank you so much again and again for contributing to this event in the opening session. It was a great experience for us, and sure for the participants at the same time. If you would like to, the Discord channel.
Yes.
You can maintain the discussion from here for further discussion. At the same time, we have some questions about mainly based on the food and proteins chain, etc. But we can, if you would like to, you can maybe give some extra information that they can check, or if they ask for, if they ask it in the channel, we can help them to get a little bit of more knowledge about that topic that you mentioned.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I will be at Discord after this session then, and I will try to answer the questions as well as I can. But let's keep it within sustainability because we can go very wide.
Yeah.
This session is mainly for sustainability, and I think that it's so important to focus on this and educate each other on this. I mean, like how we're here for 40 minutes, and I think that most of us have a better understanding of a couple of important points. So one is, what is the actual problem? It's greenhouse gases. What is causing it? Well, our traditional industries. And how can what are these industries? Well, I called all of 6 of them, and how we can actually transform them and who the stakeholders are. So we, governments, entrepreneurs, and investors. So we can call each other out on the lack that we have, because we all lack on how we don't all work so hard on this so important problem that we have.
Yes, you're so right. And if you have another point that you would like to conclude, I would be so happy to finalize the session with your own words. And before that, our friends are going to send the next session's link to the YouTube channel. You can see it from the comment section. And then after you conclude, if you'd like to, of course, conclude the session, then we can move on to the another one.
Yeah. Well, like I highlighted a lot of points within this session that, we all have a huge problem that is going to affect us on a catastrophic scale, and we should all work on this. And what I believe in is that, especially when I look and talk with younger generations, millennials and younger, or, the more vibrant generations, they have such a different way of thinking about stuff. And what is also very important is they see the world as business in a more flat way of managing each other. So there are no directors and I have, this title, but they're more like solving the problem together. I believe that when young people work together, group together, and make decisions together for their own future that our parents or their parents messed up, it's true. I think they can overcome this problem and they can leave a better legacy for the future than our parents or their parents did. And can you imagine that you can be a generation that altered the course of the world? So when we look at the timeline of the world, we can say that generation in the early 2000s or 2020s, they altered the course. They made a decision that they will not take, whatever happened, and they made the decision. They did what was important. They vote right. They developed right companies. They pushed for policies, and they changed it. So it's all in your hands. Do you want to be in the history books, or you just want to continue whatever everybody was doing?
Esranur Kaygin, we are so happy to have you, and thank you so much. You were with us in our opening session, and this video will be published in our YouTube channel within a couple of weeks. And thank you for being with us today again.
Thank you so much for having me. I hope it was inspiring.
Yeah, it was, for sure. Goodbye.
Bye.